The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode.
It's the summer of 93 at 30.
Welcome to the Brandon Peters Show and the summer of 93 at 30 series, which is where we take a weekend by weekend look at movies released during the summer of 1993. Returning, as always, for this, we have from the Wrap, Scott Mendelson.
The audio just cut out?
No.
You're fine.
Oh.
You wave at people on an audio podcast, so it's fun. The Scott Mendelson introduction is a YouTube exclusive. That's
always
All
a
right.
pleasure. Glad to be back.
all right. And the guy who writes for two sites with W's, one with a V sometimes. He's part of the HCA and the ONWAAA, Aaron Neuwirth.
Hi.
That was a Scott impression right there.
You can hear this.
Oh boy, we're back. Today we're discussing the weekend that was June 4th through 6th of 1993. This is our second month, and we're discussing 4 classics of all
That's
time.
a lie.
Yeah. But what isn't a lie is always the news, Scott, which is how we start things.
When I wake up, don't you know I'm gonna be the man who brings the news to you.
Dan Rather, Connie Chung. The CBS Evening News, team to cover your world. This is CBS.
So this week in 1993, on June 1st, Connie Chung joins Dan Rather as the anchors of CBS Evening News.
Yay.
Yeah. Also that night, Phoenix Suns guard Dan Marley sets a then NBA playoff record by sinking 8 3-pointers during the Suns' 121-114 win over Seattle, the Supersonics, a team that doesn't exist anymore, in Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. Also that day, Guatemala President Jorge Serrano is overthrown by his army as Dan Marley swishes threes. Goodbye, Jorge Serrano.
Wow.
You're no longer leading our army, and Connie Chung was there to tell us about it. That's June 1st. On June 3rd, at the 66th National Spelling Bee, Jeff Hooper wins by spelling kamikaze. Scott, spell kamikaze.
No.
K-A-M-I-K-A-Z.
Aaron gets the steal.
K-A-M-I-K-A-Z-E.
No points for second place, Scott.
Yeah,
Fuck.
you just copied Aaron.
I was also cheating.
What?
There we go. Oh, God. Oh, man. On June 5th, the French Open women's tennis, Germany's Steffi Graf wins her third of 6 French singles titles, beating Mary Jo Fernandez of the U.S. 4-6, 6-2, and 6-4. And then on June 6th, at the 47th Annual Tony Awards, Angels in America and Kiss of the Spider-Woman win.
Huh.
Boom, yes.
Kushner
I
in the
forgot
house.
they made a play of Kiss of the Spider-Woman, unless it was a play first and I didn't remember. I know Raul Julia and William Hurt were in the movie.
Right.
I think Hurt won an Oscar for that.
Oh, yeah. That was...
Hurt did. Yeah.
Yep, Hurt did.
The Big Hurt. That's what they called it.
That's...
Everybody hurts.
That was a
Conor
popular
Williams.
baseball player at the time, too. Frank Thomas. Yeah.
I know Frank Thomas, but that.
And speaking of big hurts and baseball, our deaths this week were Johnny Mize, a baseball player, Bob Fitzsimmons, a DJ, Conway Twitty, the country artist, James Bridges, a writer and director. And then birthday-wise this week, Otto Porter Jr., NBA player, Early James, who's a singer-songwriter, and I'm going to sink us down on about it. Breonna Taylor was born this day. in
Thanks.
this week in 1993. So, yeah. It's probably the person who made the biggest difference in the summer of 1993.
Fortunately, 3.5 months in the future, that problem no longer exists. Right, future Aaron and Brandon? No.
No. Yeah, so that's that was
Maybe
the
Fast X solves racism.
What was that?
Maybe Fast X will solve racism.
Access
Fast X?
Fast
Yeah.
X.
Oh, that's quite possible.
This is out, and that movie will have like cleaned up at the box office 2 weeks ago at this point. But then after that, Vin starts giving speeches around the world, preaching about how this movie was made in honor of the horrible tragedies that have gone on, and how he just wants the world to unite, and this is the movie to do it.
Vin and hologram Paul Walker will be.
We're going to hell.
Yeah. All right.
The Furious 7 song plays.
Yeah.
And now I'm gonna cry again.
Yes. All right. Well, let's save those tears, Scott. We're going to move to our first film of the week, which is a re-release, which was re-released in Chicago this weekend. Nothing But a Man.
At first it was real strange. Japan's a long ways from Alabama. Really got under my skin, though. Almost didn't come back.
Why did you?
I don't know. Guess I belong here more than there.
Been up north?
Yeah, I knocked around a couple of months after the Army. You been there?
No.
Well, it ain't that good up there neither. Might as well make it here. Of course, I ain't really making it now. Anyway, he can't get to you if you keep moving.
Brandon, you should have said, speaking of racism, we're moving on.
You know,
it was implied.
Oh, so this 1964 film was directed by Michael Romer, written by Michael Romer, Robert M. Young, and starring Ivan Dixon, Abby Lincoln, Julius Harris, Gloria Foster, and the cinematic debut of Yaphet Kotto. A black man and his high school teacher wife faced discriminatory challenges in 1960s America. So yeah, this is a blind. I've never seen this movie. I don't think I'd even heard of it before doing my research for what was released, and it's one of those one theater re-releases. Maybe I've just been one screening or something, but it was noted in multiple places, and I looked at what the film was, and I was like, no, we're talking about this one. I want to see it. It's curious. Checked it out. But Aaron, what'd you think?
Yeah, I would assume it's like when they put, like, I don't know, The Conversation back in theaters like a few months ago, or any number. The Conformist was just in theaters a few months ago. It's like things like that where it's like, the Rialto's playing this. It's like, okay, great. I'm happy to go there.
Right.
If I could. But yeah, this movie, I also similarly did not know of it. Even if I heard of it in passing, it certainly wasn't on my mind. But just seeing the basic premise, and I was going in being like, I'm probably going to like this because it's the kind of movie that I can flock towards as far as, hey, there's going to be a story of racial tumultuousness, relationship drama involving people in the South. The kind of scenes where a black guy does something, then like a group of white people drive up and they start talking. It's like, I know where this is going. And it's the kind of thing where it's like, yes, it's angering and frustrating as far as this stuff happened and still does happen, but it's also like compelling drama to watch. And that's what I got. Like, I think the movie throughout, despite it having this sort of, kind of low budget feel, because that's what it is, given the parameter, given the means available to make a movie like this, it has a lo-fi quality to it, but it doesn't take away from what I think are some pretty strong performances contained throughout. And it even has a sort of kind of a docu feel. Like, it's not a documentary obviously, but it certainly has the kind of the way it's shot, it's not too dissimilar from other films that were kind of like breaking the mold from kind of standard drama or drama from like the 50s time or whatnot and moving forward in its own way. So it has this sort of naturalism to how it's being, thrown on the screen. Yeah, no, you talked about him. It's just a good drama. I enjoyed it.
Scott?
This one had not been on my radar before, but I quite enjoyed it. Very well acted. It was a hoot initially to see Yaphet Kotto. I wonder if that was his yes, it's his first movie. Neat. Other than that, it's just a very compelling character study. And it feels, I don't want to say definitive because that's too strong of a word, but it feels like a definitive portrait of that era. And frankly, relatively working poor Black America. Ironically, the director, who came from Germany, he was Jewish. He basically based the story on his own family's inability to support themselves during the rise of Nazism. So it was basically just transporting one for another, and it's pretty seamless. Yay, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's. I can imagine it was a relatively groundbreaking picture in 1964, or at least something that was sort of a gateway drug to even more experimental cinema of the emerging new wave, blah 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 era. That being said, I think the biggest thing that shocked me about the film is that it almost has a happy ending. As silly as that may sound, I was expecting to be, metaphorically kicked in the nuts right at the end, and that frankly doesn't happen. It ends with a very character specific place of an arc that makes sense for a measure of happiness and a measure of growth and a measure of hope. Realistic for sure, but
not the 70s, Scott. So yeah, I didn't.
What was that?
It's still the 60s and not the 70s, so it didn't need to just the end of it.
Nonetheless, and it's very crisply. I didn't mind the budgetary limitations because it didn't feel restrictive in terms of its narrative or it's funny, we're talking about a low budget film in 1964. It's like, well, at least I don't have to count the locations. I don't have to count this number of speaking roles because there's too many. There's enough. It feels like a movie. But yeah, it's very good. I'm glad we got to see it 60 years after the fact.
Yeah. I like you too. I really like this. This was compelling from many angles, that not just the racism angle. There was like an anti-unionism angle with the work stuff. There was some religious stuff in here as well. And then there's the kind of, I like the parallel nature of the father-in-law and him of, like just kind of like going with the flow to get by and make life a little simpler, or making life, taking a stand for yourself and getting the life you should have and want. That kind of battle went through. I like that a lot. You have your typical, I believe boy is said a lot in this movie. Like, I was just like, whoo. I'm sure, they, there are other words, but they're like, let's just stick with that one. Let's just, kind of make this, I don't know, safe in a way with that. But I got a real, and this precedes it by like 7 years, but I got a real Last Picture Show vibe from like a lot of this.
Yeah, that's fair.
In not only its look, but it kind of rolls the opposite way, where that one's the end of times. Our lead character feels like he's planting seeds for a better tomorrow. There by being his tough guy and his wife that stands by him through it. I mean, this poor guy, like, because of just standing up for himself, doing kind of what's right and looking out for his, fellow man, like, loses jobs, loses opportunity. Like, it's, he gets knocked down constantly, or, a lot of headbutting and stuff, but he gets through there. And this feels ripe for like a Criterion release with some essays and some people talking about it. And I want to know more about this film. It feels, yeah,
especially like, and that's the thing. One thing I wanted to speak to. I was just thinking about it. The role of Black culture in the film and the balance that it has, as far as having a man who is trying. he has conflicting views about family. Like that's a big part of his whole journey here. The idea of him finding someone that he's in love with, but she has a father, and the father is this kind of he's made himself fairly amenable to white people, where and it gets at him as far as like trying to like prove himself for this guy, trying to make himself be the man he wants to be for his wife, which means giving up on certain other opportunities or just involving the union stuff or whatever. Like there's a lot of different angles being played as far as what it's like to be a black man at this time in this area of the country. And a Criterion release for this movie, that could be a part of a whole box set, I imagine, of other movies that many we probably haven't even heard of, but others that I'm certainly aware of that do explore that do have interesting angles to take as far as what the time was, in this area for these kind of lives or what have you. And that'd be, I'd love to see, for one thing, remastered versions of these kind of movies, because they're so, they're not available. Like we had to watch this on YouTube. Like they're
right. Yeah. There's a DVD that's out of print that goes for like $50.
So just the preservation aspect alone would make it worthwhile. But it's the kind of fascinating thing to be, which like you said, as far as like getting interviews and stuff, just to kind of have further reflection on those times.
Yeah, someone knows more about this. Some scholar knows more about this movie than what we have available now that just hasn't spoken, or we don't know the book where it's mentioned at. Like that's kind of what it is. And this photography looks pretty rich too. And like I said, in that last picture show kind of way, which that turned out to be a good looking 4K Ultra HD. There's a lot here, and yeah, like you said, like this would be the perfect complement to some sort of box set as well. That'd probably strengthen it too. But yeah, this is a forgotten film that needs brought back up for sure. Like it's good drama, like certainly.
Denzel Washington, that kind of reminded him of August Wilson, and then he'll look into it.
Yeah.
The one thing, and Brandon mentioned this, and I didn't. So, watching the film, I thought, okay, I can see a film like this being remade or rediscovered or whatever you want to call it. Except the union angle is specific enough to something that we don't see much of today. That almost felt more trailblazing, by today's standards than the matter of fact look at institutional racism in a skewed way.
Yeah.
It's he is allowed to be a flawed and troubled character with his own issues that are also intermingled with the societal prejudices and stumbling blocks, et cetera, et cetera. He's a very specific human being with a very specific past and or feelings about his future that I find, obviously one can view this in the more generic prism of an important film of its era, but it just has a very specific character study as well.
Yeah.
And I was quite taken by it.
Yeah, he's got like a son he's kind of estranged from too. Not so much estranged, but like he's got a ex that's a bit crazy. So
he has his own father who's there's some interesting complexities to his life. And Scott, you're not wrong as far as saying they're not afraid to make him like unlikable either in certain instances.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's certainly driven by various means, but regardless, he's still a lead character that does things that aren't the best at times. So it's I like 90 minutes, and even for a story like this, it moved quick. Like I watched this thing and I was like, oh man, we're just humming along here for a movie that's dabbling with stuff that just is designed to make you uncomfortable to some degree.
Yeah, you could pack this punch in 90 minutes. You don't need 3 hours, 2.5. Like there's back in the day, they could do it. They could make it without having to be a 5-part or 8-episode season of something. Like you could.
Oh, yeah, a movie that came to mind. It's not a 1-to-1, but like Killer of Sheep. That movie's like 80 minutes, and that's a fucking classic. So it's.
Yeah. It's definitely possible for sure. Yeah. Without spelling everything out, with good visual language and such. It's great. You
don't always have to spell it out, but when you do, it's KAMKIZ.
Yeah. For those interested, like there's to watch this at the time where we're recording, it was available on YouTube and then like just type it in, you'll find it, and then Flix or whatever, Flix something has it on their app, but those are the only kind of places it's available. But yeah, it's a definite recommend for sure. But yeah, I've got no segue out of there, so we'll just move on to the Nielsen ratings for the week.
The World Music Awards have been held here in Monte Carlo for the past 4 years. The spectacular scenery, the romance of the Mediterranean, and the mystique of royalty makes this award ceremony something really different.
So coming in at number 1 this week, this is a wildly so this is a weird top 10 this week. We have number 1, 60 Minutes on CBS Takes It. Tying at number 2, Home Improvement and Roseanne on ABC. So everybody just sat and watched that hour. And then number 4, the NBA Eastern Conference Finals Game 5 between the Bulls and the Knicks. And number 5 was the NBA Eastern Conference Finals Game 6 of the Bulls and the Knicks. And number 6, Coach on ABC. Goes with the sports. Number 7, another tie between Murder, She Wrote on CBS and Police Academy 6 on ABC.
City Under Siege.
City Under Siege. Oh,
that movie's the fucking Dark Knight of Police Academy movies, let me tell you.
Oh, it is.
I'm glad that there's box office stats and making sure to know the subtitles for each Police Academy movie. That's what Scott specializes in.
Yeah, does it?
Oh, come on. You know them all. Quick, what's part 4?
I don't know because I don't
That's
care.
the one where Mahoney leaves. That's the hot air balloon run where Mahoney leaves, right? All right.
That's not a title. That's what that is.
Well, 5, of course, is Assignment Miami Beach. That's the classic one.
Well, and then there's
7 is Mission to Moscow.
Mission to Moscow is the one I remember.
Like what? Well, you're like all over the place.
Is it 2 the first assignment?
Yes,
Police Academy. That's the joke. Like,
what's 4? What is it?
What's 4? Oh, he's looking it up. Oh, Mr. Police Academy expert's looking it up.
That was the one that I couldn't remember. It was Citizens on Patrol.
Oh, okay.
2 is the first assignment. 3 is Back in Training. That's the one where Bobcat Goldthwait becomes a good guy.
Yeah, they Fast and Furious the franchise with him.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Bob
and then, Tom Cruise saw the first one.
Jason Statham of the Police Academy franchise.
Then Jason, Tom Cruise saw the first one and thinking, what if we did this with fighter pilots? That just might work.
Oh boy, yeah, those movies.
Isn't it wild that there's not a legacy sequel to Police Academy yet?
It's weird,
actually.
Isn't it weird that Steve Guttenberg and the gang didn't get together make one of these by now?
Well, also Blu-ray, not in the United States. It's only you have to get a UK box set for it.
Yeah,
that's so
wild.
A
DVD box set.
UK is also the one country that laughs.
Yeah.
There's no joke there. That's just actual fact.
Yes, of course.
Oh, so number 9, the World Music Awards on ABC, and number 10, 48 Hours on CBS. So a lot of news and sports this week for the television.
Did the Bulls win?
The Bulls do win. This is their
this is their
90s
year.
Bulls. I assume they won.
Yes. They will go on to play Charles Barkley and the Phoenix Suns in the NBA Finals. We'll have those ratings for you coming
Barkley
up.
v. Jordan.
Barkley v. Jordan. And Pippen. And Marley, KJ, BJ Armstrong, Horace Grant. Those old days. Yes. Yeah. Well, that's coming. That's a couple years.
Boom shakalaka.
Boom shakalaka. All right. So no segue again. We're just going to go to a movie playing in one theater.
On fire.
Another one. So total today of theaters movies have played in 2.
It's called The City of the World. Everything in it happens at once.
2 total strangers.
Pick you up on the road, you look half dead, you tell me this wild story. Why the hell should I believe a word of it?
Destiny drew them together.
I gotta see what you can do with my own eyes.
Hey, no problem, partner. I'll show you my stuff. You'll be so impressed your mouth will drop open. I'll make your eyes fall out of your head. It's crazy.
Fate made them friends.
We can't have no uninvited guests sneaking through the gates.
We got an invitation.
Now, I don't know who's responsible for it.
but he's one hell of a little poker player.
Together, they'll discover
What makes you think anything's going to be different this time? We took lessons.
that life is a game of chance.
A full house. What can you do to answer that, Jack?
Oh, buddy, looks like we have to walk home.
But nobody plays by the rules.
I told you before it was a mistake to trust these guys.
If we let them leave, they'll never pay us back.
What is this, some kind of a prank?
Anything like that can seriously hamper a man's ability to express himself.
Does have a way of adjusting focus, don't it?
James Spader, Mandy Patinkin, Charles Durning, Joel Gray, and M. Emmett Walsh. A dark tale of destiny and revenge. A film by Philip Haas. The music of chance.
The Music of Chance, directed by Philip Haas, written by Philip Haas and Belinda Haas, based on a novel by Paul Auster, starring James Spader, Mandy Patinkin, M. Emmett Walsh, Charles Durning, Joel Gray, Samantha Mathis, and Christopher Penn. This is a thrill seeker agrees to help a shady professional gambler win a high-stakes poker game. However, they lose and become captives of two eccentric rich men who decide forcibly to keep them on their remote gated ranch as indentured servants. Another blind one for me. Never seen The Music of Chance. Going into this was a hard movie to find, and then right when we're going to do this, shows up on the Roku channel. So it's a VHS rip too. So
clearly in the 4:3 ratio that we watched.
Boom mics everywhere.
Yes. So Scott, what did you think of The Music of Chance?
I thought it was it's an interesting time capsule. It's basically a long form conversational piece, especially maybe for the first half of the film until the quote unquote inciting incident, which is they lose several hands at cards. James Spader is very good, playing a somewhat James Spadery character, although not quite as slimy this time around, more nebbishy and just sort of troublemaking.
I'd argue he's playing a Steve Buscemi character.
Yes, that's actually yes.
I have to say with this, like Spader's like damn near unrecognizable, not just visually, but voice and his cadence of the way he speaks is very not Spaderish to me.
Like I looked away from the screen a couple of times and I was thinking I was hearing Steve Buscemi, honestly.
Yeah, it's really weird. This is a really interesting, like if you're a Spader fan and you haven't seen this one, like this is a really unique one for me.
This is for the Spader completists.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I think the first half is stronger than the second, just because I think there's a lot of rising tension, and especially if you didn't read the plot synopsis at a time, but I think the second half is fine, but it kind of just sort of like, well, this is a little strange, but okay, I'll go with this. Mandy Patinkin is sort of the straight man of the two, and that's fine. It's an acting treat for me, plain and simple. Other than that, it didn't do much for me. It's a very small picture with small ambitions with 5 or 6 really strong actors, and that's about it. I mean, it's based on a novel, and I'm shocked it wasn't based on a play.
Right. Yes. I agree. I agree. Yeah.
And speaking with The Music of Chance, was that just, did you like pull out 5 balls from one each slot to pick a title? But anyway, it's worth seeing if you are fans of the cast. It is a good movie, but it is not an essential picture unless you want to see somewhat offbeat James Spader work, and Mandy Patinkin is a straight man in a very low key and somewhat stiff upper lippy melodrama.
Gotcha, Aaron.
I thought this movie was kind of great. I didn't know what I was expecting. I didn't read the synopsis or anything. All I knew was Patinkin and Spader, the dream team I've been waiting for in a movie. So like, I hear what Scott's saying. I like the first half as well, as far as yes, obviously it's building up to something and there's more just at stake, and You got Durning and Joel Grey in there as well. So it's like there's a lot of fun stuff here. But like what I liked about the second half, why it kind of put me over the top for it is it suddenly it dawned on me, it's like, oh, this is an allegory. Like this isn't like it's not just like a story anymore. It's like, oh, it's actually going for something else. And I rather appreciated that, mainly because I just didn't see that coming. But also I found it I enjoyed the kind of try to be vague about like where it goes. I liked what it was. I liked where it was going. I liked what it aimed for. I liked how the characters progressed in a way that I didn't have a clue as to what was going to be occurring. And then when things did, it kind of clicked in a way where it was like, oh, okay. And I, throughout that, as Scott once again was saying, like, yeah, in the meantime, you get all these great actors. You get a lot of Emmett Walsh, who I always like seeing in movies. The performances here, I think, are all top notch. And even like the you mentioned that could be a play. It's like, yeah, I'm sure it could be a stage play, but at the same time, the cinematic quality of seeing what the work they're doing is leading to, I did find that to be interesting. I did find that to be something that had a little bit of heft to it, as far as not just being told like this is what they're doing now, but like seeing them actually do the work and what that work is leading to. This would have a lot of differences if there were black actors involved in this, but it doesn't, so it doesn't matter as far as being indentured servants to rich white people. But that would make me curious as to what it would be like if you filmed a movie like this today, because you probably would change things around. You could probably have a lot of fun with how you would cast that, actually thinking about that. Spader is very good here. Patinkin, I will say this. I don't know him from stage. I don't know him from, what was he on, Chicago Hope? Is that the show he was on?
Yes.
Yeah.
So my main like touch points with Manny Patinkin are either Homeland with a big bushy beard, or when he's really young as Inigo Montoya. So like this 90s period, 90s mid 2000s period in between that, I'm like pretty blind on Patinkin. So every time I see him, there's not enough familiarity I have with him. So he just seems like this guy with a really like sharp face. He has this really angular chin, especially when he's beardless. He has this really angular chin, and I just never know if I can trust him. And so, like, watching him here, he's always fascinating to me in that mode, because I don't know what to expect from him. And he's obviously a very accomplished actor, let alone singer. So it's like, I like that I have a bit of mystery about Mandy Patinkin when I see him in things like this, where it's like, I don't know where this guy's going. Yeah. But no, I really, I was surprised how much I was into this movie. I was like, this is going places I just did not expect. I quite enjoyed it.
He was Criminal Minds too, wasn't he?
Yeah, the first two seasons of Criminal Minds.
And he famously left it. Like,
yeah, he didn't like the subject matter. Yeah. But let me tell you, he was a motherfucking son of a bitch in Adventures of Elmo and Grouchland.
Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm kind of like with Aaron here. This was like a fun movie to watch, just because the joy of just not knowing where it's going. I think I'm with Scott. First half's stronger, because there's the air of uncertainty, and you kind of think it's going to be this movie where they're going to be stuck in this house negotiating their way out the whole time, or trying to figure that out.
I thought it'd be like a grifter movie for a while,
or something. Yeah, like
it wasn't that at all.
Well, yeah, that's at first I saw that, but when they spent so much time in that house and establishing the geography and all that stuff there, and leaving rooms, I was like, okay, this is going to be figuring out some way to get out of here with all these guys talking through it and stuff. But it ends up going somewhere completely different. But yeah, Spader's great here. Joel Grey is kind of delicious as an evil rich guy, and it just like this is kind of the like bread and butter, indie drama you'd get all the time back in the 90s. And this would, I was thinking perfectly, like I could imagine like tonight on Cinemax we have Water for Chocolate, followed by the music of Chance. Like this is like the type of stuff they were buying up. Like they couldn't get a lot of the big A title, and then like at late night Pumpkinhead 2 would be on after them. That'd be like the lineup for a Cinemax night. But it plays with limited locations very well, like singular location. And it was just kind of, it bopped really well for me, and I did enjoy it quite a bit. It was a nice surprise. Like I looked at it, you see the cast, you kind of see like the vibe of it right away. You're like, I think I might enjoy this if they're all right, and I did. I don't think it's fantastic, but like it's quite enjoyable. It's very, very good.
It's a sneaky little gem.
Yeah, sneaky little gem, I would say. Yeah. Definitely another hidden movie we have this week. That's the hidden gems week here on Summer 93 at 30. But yeah, M. Emmett Walsh, he's you're like, see a son of a bitch, or is he just like kind of like ignorant, like
That's
whatever?
the magic of
like,
Emmett Walsh. He can do all of that in one role.
Sometimes you're evil in movies, and sometimes I just want to give you a big hug, but I don't know where you're at here for most of it. And then like Mandy Patinkin has the drive my car, I think, through some of this. So that was kind of nifty. But yeah, it's interesting to see him such a straight man here, and he's so.
With an accent.
Yeah.
Very much doing the accent.
Yeah. And it's so funny with like when it comes to show, they're like, you're gonna have to sit and work on this, build this wall and shit till you pay us off, and it's gonna be 50 days. And he's like, all right. Can I just call my sister? Because I'm supposed to be there in a couple weeks and she's gonna want to okay. But he's all like, okay, this is what we do. Like, so. But I mean, he's living this weird life where he's recently divorced and like just going on a joyride. He picks up this this guy who's like a poker swindler. He gets kind of involved. I do like when he plays with Spader and they use the Post-it notes for poker chips or whatever. That's fun. That's a fun little touch to it. But yeah, and like Scott, stunned it wasn't a play. Like absolutely stunned. Like I was like, what play was this? But nope, no play.
If I had more time to like research this, because I'm curious about the title as well, and then like the fact that again the movie's like an allegory, I'm curious if there's some like, I don't know, some association with something I'm just not aware of, as far as, I don't know, some kind of religious.
I remember them talking about like a jazz bar at the beginning or something where he ran from. But I'm like, is that where the music? Because he got kicked out of a musical place and he took a chance on. Like, I was trying to put that together, but
yeah.
But yeah, this was a nice little find. And while this has the music of chance, but we do have music to talk about for Casey Kasem's Top 40 this week.
Casey's biggest hits.
For the top 10, again, Janet Jackson, That's the Way Love Goes. It's the way this goes every week. Freak Me by Silk Holding On, number 2. Number 3, the same, Knocking to Boots by H-Town. Number 4, Weak by SWV. Again, number 5, Love Is by Vanessa Williams and Brian McKnight. We have a little swapper at 6 and 7. Number 6 is now I'm So Into You by SWV. And number 7 is now Looking Through Patient Eyes by PM Dawn. SWV dominating the Casey Kasem Top 10. Number 8, Show Me Love by Robin S. And number 9, we have I Told You Lately by Rod Stewart. Scott, big fan. And number 10.
You fill my heart with gladness. You take away all my sadness. Ease my troubles, that's what you do. Okay.
And we're back.
All right, number 10. Scott, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? It's Bad Boys by Inner Circle. It's Bad Boys by Inner Circle. Yeah. Pre-cops using it. This is where it put itself on notice.
Pre-cops, pre-Bad Boys.
Pre-Bad Boys. Yeah. Didn't they have another hit too, Inner Circle? What was... I'll have to think of that. I thought they had like, there wasn't just Bad Boys. They had another little hit song around that time. But
Thriller.
Yeah. Thrill Boys, Thrill Boys. Okay, so moving on for the top 10, we go to Life with Mikey.
From Touchstone Pictures, Michael J. Fox is back.
I'm something of a celebrity. So what?
He's a smooth-talking children's talent agent.
This kid is unbelievable.
Who's the troll?
Who's finally met his match.
You found a little girl with some spirit.
Find the chimney and shove yourself out.
Did you check her head with a little 666?
Michael J. Fox.
There was only 2 6s. We got her just in time.
Life with Mikey. This film is not yet rated. Starts Friday, June 4th at a theater near you.
Directed by James Lapine, written by Mark Lawrence, starring Michael J. Fox, Christina Vidal, Nathan Lane, Cyndi Lauper, David Krumholtz, Victor Garber, Christine Baranski, and there's a cameo by Mandy Patinkin in this movie. So he's here twice.
Yes.
He's here twice this week. A once popular actor who now runs a talent agency specializing in child acts is trying to discover the next star. He gets more than he bargained for when he recruits a child pickpocket. I have seen this movie before this week. So there's one here I saw, not in the theater, but I remember seeing the trailer a lot back in 1993. And I was like, oh, is that like because Mikey was the guy who ate the Life cereal, right? That was the big thing. Yeah, he likes it. We get the introduction of David Krumholtz, all this stuff. Aaron, Life with Mikey.
This is a movie that I've certainly seen clips of on like WGN over time. I don't think I've ever watched it like front to back in full. I am though intrigued by a movie that depends on David Krumholtz to save the day. That's pretty compelling.
Cinematic debut of David Krumholtz.
He did that like for 6 years on CBS.
That's true.
Yeah, but this didn't even require numbers. He was just hanging out, just being a gifted actor that they should have listened to. That's the takeaway I had.
Yes.
I can't say this movie's like, it's certainly not great. It's barely good. It's fine. Like, it's a very standard, it's Touchstone, right? Very standard, like, Disney-ish movie that has a very easy message, does exactly the things that it kind of needs to do to get to like the moment of sweetness and shit, where it's like, okay, like here's the lesson we all take away from it, and now we're all better people because of it. Like, the thing that obviously is going to win you over is Michael J. Fox, because he's Michael J. Fox, very likable personality, is very fun to just hang around with in a movie for 90 minutes. It's the perfect kind of 90s for Nathan Lane, who's in the exact kind of role that you'd expect Nathan Lane in the 90s to be,
right?
Outside the Birdcage, where he's just like best friend / co-worker character who says things like, I can't believe you didn't get the interview, and like it's just a very rote role that has nothing to offer besides, well, it's Nathan Lane, so he'll just make the deliveries work, I guess. Christina Vidal, she's good here. I mean, it's a good find given the theme of the movie. She and Jake and Fox, have good chemistry or whatnot. I liked Ruben Blades popping in towards the end. That was fun because I like Ruben Blades quite a bit, so that was great to see. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really here. Now, this is coming after I've seen the Michael J. Fox documentary that played at Sundance, which is really good. And so it was neat to be like, oh, let me watch one of these like throwaway Fox roles that he had after seeing this compelling film about how he became a superstar and then had to struggle with Parkinson's. But like, so seeing like basically Michael J. Fox in his post Back to the Future prime, again, he's a very likable actor. So it's hard to like hate a movie like this because there's too much charm off the screen. But like, it's not much here. It's Life of Mikey.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm with you there. It was kind of weird. It was like they were doing stuff and didn't realize that there was like meat in areas. Like there's this whole like him being like a father to her, but they don't really dive into it. There's like a teacher. It's like, hey, like you're not her dad, or so like trying to point out like he's not taking certain responsibilities if he's wanting to be in that role, and they don't really follow through. There's stuff with him and Nathan Lane's like his brother, right?
I don't know.
Or something. In it, it's just kind of tinking around. Like it doesn't even have fun with like the shoots like they should. There should be some fun commercial weird stuff where constantly there should be a lot more of that. But and showing their set build relationship and more stuff with his like, I don't know, past self. Like there should, I don't know. There's a good story to be told with this that's not here and touched upon in points, and Michael J. Fox can only carry it so far. I did like Cyndi Lauper here, plus for that, but like, wow, I didn't realize you could just swap her and Annie Potts and get like the same kind of thing. Like she's blonde Annie Potts in this movie, and oh Disney, Look at you. This is a Touchstone picture, so it's Disney. Look at you sneaking songs from a tune from Song of the South in there, huh? There you go. Look at you. Look at you sneaking it in there. Scott, what'd you think of Life with Mikey?
Obviously, it's a very paint by numbers studio picture of its time. I did appreciate, and especially in the early moments where it's basically spot of stars. Like, hey, look, it's Christine Baranski and with like no lines, and hey, look, it's Victor Garber with like one line, and oh, it's Annabella Gurwitch. Okay, neat.
A lot of people that were on break from their stage performances.
Yes, and yes, Back to the Future was a giant hit, yada yada yada. But for me, Michael J. Fox was never that much of a quote unquote movie star, and this was during the area where he commercially, especially, kind of floundered between Back to the Future and when he sort of came back to TV with Spin City, which was a terrific show, and that ran for several years. I think unfortunately he left because of Parkinson's, and Charlie Sheen took over for a few years.
I mean,
so this was.
When I say superstar, I think of him like. He was certainly like everybody knew Michael J. Fox.
Oh, right. Yes,
his movies were yeah, I know, like his movies were that and what Secret of My Success and like they weren't Doc Hollywood, they weren't doing like great numbers, but like he's a guy. He was a guy.
Yeah,
like Michael J. Fox. He was an A-list star with like whatever movies outside of
because a lot more people watched the same TV back then too. He was like he had gone too big in television that he needed to be that movie star, and he had Back to the Future that was great, but like I don't know, they put him on like a Tom Cruise kind of route, but Tom Cruise did a lot better. Like it kind of feels like.
Because
Cruise would have been terrifying in this film.
He cultivated like good rapport with like directors and filmmakers or whatnot. Where Michael J. Fox, I wouldn't say I don't.
Tom Cruise had Jerry Maguire. That was his Life with Mikey.
Yeah. So. Well, Tom Cruise is the rare mix of he can do whatever and make it work, and it's probably generally pretty good.
Yeah.
Where Fox is like he's getting lead roles, like, but he's not a guy that seemed to be like looking for marquee directors to work with. It's just more like I can do my charming Fox thing and make this work, and that's
Yeah, he rolls on through here.
But like as far as the movie, it's fine. I think you're right, Brandon, that there are times where it wants to be slightly more serious or at least more self-aware than it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the guy that plays her father, he's barely, he shows up during the third act. It's a completely compelling and nuanced dramatic performance that seems like it's an entire, this isn't criticism or not. It's like it feels like it's an entirely different movie.
Mm-hmm.
And the young Christine Vidal is very good. And again, for what it's worth, I thought, oh, this is nice. They cast a non-white young actress and nobody gave a shit because this was 1993 and that was fine. Nobody cared. That's nice. Again, when films were cheap enough, et cetera, you could do that without the internet going crazy, except the internet did not exist then, but you get my idea. But no, as a movie, it feels very Mad Libs, very formulaic, very, where this is going, and there's really not much conflict. Even by the standards of a PG-rated kids comedy from the 90s.
Again, the stakes are we need David Krumholtz to save us.
Yes, and it's weird that they sort of gloss over the whole. Oh yeah, my dad's friend stole a $225,000 check from me and took off. Like, oh, that's that. Call the police. Call the company and have them cancel the check. There are things you can do. But. No, it's inoffensive in every way. It is a time capsule. It is, it's fine. Whatever.
Gotcha. Yeah, and it's on Disney Plus.
Yes,
you can all check out Life with Mikey all you want. Wonder if maybe they'll make a Life with Mikey Disney Plus show,
which will get canceled after one season.
There you go.
And you're right in that sense. I mean, you're right in that. It's the kind of movie that we all kind of hoped would get made more often on Disney Plus when Disney Plus launched. And I think even Sean Bailey, who runs the live action Disney department or whatever, is like, I think at its best, Disney Plus was supposed to be a commercial justification to make movies like Alexander the No Good Very Bad Day or Life with Mikey or McFarlane USA or what have you, just, movies. But unfortunately, very quickly, it was just basically the only kind of movies we saw of that nature, especially after the first year, were inspirational sports dramas. And now we don't even get that.
Movies, copyright Harry Styles, just so we can watch ourselves there. But yeah, no, I get you. Yeah, that was the idea, but then it turned in Disney Plus into well, hang on for the Star Wars show, the Marvel show, the Star Wars show, the Marvel show, the Star Wars show, the Marvel show. And then
there's a Pixar movie as a treat.
Here's a Pixar movie treat. Hey, look, we're not making you go to the theater for this lifeless animated remake. Enjoy Pinocchio.
Or don't.
Right. Yeah. I mean, where's our computer wore tennis shoes redo?
Agreed.
Give me that.
Although, to be fair, Chip and Dale was awesome.
Yeah.
That was spectacularly funny.
Correct.
The exception to the rule.
Pretty much.
True. But yeah,
and it was funny because I'll be quick. I'm sorry, but the first year, part of this was because all these movies from COVID that were getting thrown on Disney Plus. It's like for the first year, they had good movies like the one and only Ivan and Magic Camp, and that dog movie with William Dafoe. The name escapes me. That everybody else says was terrific.
It is good.
What's it called?
A lot better than Call of the Wild, that's for sure.
That's probably true. So for the first year, it's like, oh, okay. And then they had Hamilton, which again, that was supposed to be in theaters, but hey, it's on Disney Plus now. So for a while, they did have, I would argue, would be an A-level slate of films, but then now they don't.
Togo,
thank you.
Togo. It helped in COVID because everybody was ordering their food Togo. So that's why
I was about to say, named after the crappy sandwich shop.
Yes.
Well, what are we disparaging Togos for? Like Subway?
It's bad.
No, it isn't.
There was a period in my life where it's like I worked in Burbank, I lived in Woodland Hills, and I had stuff in Hollywood sometimes. And like the only thing I had time to grab that was convenient was Togo, and I hated it because it wasn't as good as Subway. It wasn't good as Quiznos.
Quiznos is gone, right?
I know. Yet Togo's lives.
We used to have that on the corner at IQC, Scott.
Life is unfair.
I got tired of Quiznos real fast. But yeah, so as we move from Life with Mikey, we're gonna take a quick break and have a Life with Yancy as we go to our favorite thing, Yancy's Tales from the Video Store.
For Applause Video's anniversary sale. Come to any one of their 3 locations in Windsor and check out the fantastic selection. Applause Video has fantastic prices. Here's the proof. Right now, you can rent your favorite movie for only $2.49 a day, including Saturdays. Your first choice for Christmas gifts at last should be a movie from Applause Video. There are almost 1,000 titles in stock waiting for you. Applause Video has Windsor's largest rental selection, and it's a Windsor-owned and operated business. Check out their anniversary sale now.
So this is not my story personally, but one of my friends he worked at Blockbuster Video. So growing up in Fort Wayne, big movie was shot there at the time called In the Company of Men by Neil LaBute. It starred Aaron Eckhart. It was I think it won Sundance, maybe something like that, but it was a big deal. Shot in Fort Wayne. Oh my gosh. And so Neil LaBute lived around Fort Wayne for a while, even after the success. And he would come into Blockbuster Video all the time. And my friend said he was the most annoying dude there. He would come up and he'd be like, "Can I get your Blockbuster card, please?" He goes, "Come on, man." He's like, "No, I need you." He's like, "You know who I am." He's like, "Yeah, and I need to scan your card because that's how we get it in the computer." But he said one time in like one of those pages where in Entertainment Weekly where they'd have like multiple pictures of like premieres with little captions. He was in one. He was in one of them. Came in the day the magazine went on the rack and just stood around the store for hours, hoping for someone to like pick it up and be like,
"Wow!"
And he did that. And he's like, he was just a nuisance inside the Blockbuster there.
Wow.
Okay, our next film, our big headliner for this week is Guilty as Sin. Directed by Sidney Lumet, written by Larry Cohen, and starring Rebecca De Mornay, Don Johnson, Stephen Lang, looking fabulous in this movie. Jack Warden, Dana Ivey, and Luis Guzman makes a small appearance. A botched, whoa, that is not Hold on. That is not. That was from the old one.
Sidney Lumet movie?
That was a different Sidney Lumet movie.
Let me guess. Night Falls on Manhattan.
Yeah.
Which is freaking awesome, by the way.
This one is about a female lawyer who takes an accused wife murderer as a client, but finds herself morally compelled to betray him one way or another. I'm gonna get you, Don J. Or another. Scott, what'd you think of Guilty as...
It might be Sidney Lumet's worst movie. And I mean, I very much like most of his films. I mean, I think that Night Falls on Manhattan, Q&A, Prince of the City, The Verdict, I think those are
Find Me Guilty.
Hey,
what a weird selection of Sidney Lumet films to choose as like the superior entries.
What, you didn't like those?
Those are your go-to Sidney Lumet movies?
Well, in terms of the, I sort of think of him as the guy that does, big city politics and corrupt, and all that jazz. Yes, he also did stuff like Network.
That was Bob Fosse, Scott.
Yes, he also did stuff like,
We leaped to that joke.
Really, Fosse.
Something The Wiz. But no, this. I'm always talking about how when I watch all movies and I get like weirdly depressed because they're so much like bigger in scope and size and scale than what we're used to now. Mm-hmm. This is not that. I was shocked by how claustrophobic this picture felt. This is another one that I know it's not based on a play, but it could have been. It's basically Rebecca De Mornay and John Johnson having awkward, uncomfortable, somewhat salacious, even though usually it's one-sided conversations about nothing in particular, and that's basically the movie in a nutshell. There's no real drama. There's no real sense of the law at work in this legal thriller. Don Johnson is fine in the film, but he's so over-the-top villainous that even by the standards of, nobody believes women when they say bad things are happening standards, it is implausible they could keep getting away with this kind of targeted harassment, especially when, she works for this big rich company that probably doesn't want to have to deal with this. So even if she couldn't fight him off, they probably could. The film has very little in the sense of scale and scope and grandeur. There are almost no major supporting characters of note. It's a weirdly small picture, and as far as being an erotic thriller, I mean, not really, because again, it's pretty one-sided.
Yeah.
It makes Sliver look like Basic Instinct.
Yeah. This is no disclosure here.
Yeah, that one's fun.
Yeah, no, this one I don't know. Don Johnson's good when we don't know what he's done, and right at the turn point. But yeah, it does get that way. I will give this movie. It had a hell of a stunt in the finale.
Yes,
when she jumps off the balcony with him, I was like, "Oh shit, that is two real people." Falling down, and then they had when he hits. There's this like splatter of blood that comes out. It's kind of weird. And I don't know what was it was on Hoopla where I watched it, but like Aaron and I, we were talking a little bit, but like it looked like it was playing at a high frame rate.
Yeah, it was weird.
I don't know if it was shot in an
Sometimes you'll catch that in 90s pictures, or like for like 10 seconds, it feels like it's sped up.
No, the whole movie
felt weird.
It felt like motion smoothing was on. It's like, I definitely don't have that on my TV because I'm ashamed.
Yeah, it was really weird. Stephen Lang is like funny in here because you don't realize it's Stephen Lang for the first few seconds you see him.
Who's this fellow with the Jufro? And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, but this is the kind of movie like I don't know, like this was like, not to bring him up again, but like Cinemax was like could have had their hands on it, so somebody outbid them, so it became a classier movie type thing. I don't think Rebecca De Mornay is all that great in this. Like,
that's not a surprise.
I feel like with with a stronger like lead there, like this maybe is a better movie, but there's like nothing. It's like built up like there's going to be some sort of like affair thing being a problem, and then he pulls stuff on her, but like there's nothing like he wants to, but there's like nothing there. And then I on paper, I like a lot of what this is about. Like this person who's like, is this guy guilty? Like, and he plays off her confidence, and then like, oh, guess what? I confess, but you can't do shit about it. You have to defend me. You have to, and there's her like trying to like plant stuff on him and stuff with Jack Warden, the PI. But yeah, ultimately it's just kind of a snooze fest. For me, like there's some nifty pulpy stuff that Johnson tries to pull here by like disguising himself in places and her seeing him in areas, but I don't know. I don't know. Was it like I wanted this to work? It doesn't. Aaron?
It feels like Sidney Lumet like had like a different person cast for every role except Jack Warden, and then like every single one of them fell through, and so he got the fifth choice for every single person he initially cast, and that's like the movie we got here. And it's a shame because I do think there's a way to do this that you can make it work and be more compelling, but that's not evidence based on these performances, which range from fine to sleepy time, and then like a script that doesn't have the verve or wit that I could see in other Sidney Lumet legal dramas. I mean, there's a way to do this where even if it's obvious how it's going to play out, you can still get away with a lot just based off dialogue and inflections and choices. And I don't know if Lumet was just, doing one to write off on the taxes or whatever, but it just seems like he's not present here. I mean, this is a man who in his 80s gave us Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, which is the most exciting thriller I saw that year. So it's like, it's not like he lost it. Like, he knows how to do this. He knows how to make a thriller. He knows how to make a courtroom drama, but neither of those genres work well here in a way that feels anything memorable. I agree that the ending goes there in a way where I'm like, well, that's cool. I did not see that coming as far as both. But yeah, there's just not a lot here beyond the 12 Angry Men reunion with him and Jack Warden, where it's like, I appreciate that. That's fun. Get him back in here. But yeah, it's kind of a nothing burger of a movie. Not worse than Sliver, though. That's ridiculous. That movie's terrible.
Not what?
Not worse than Sliver. That's
people at least had sex in Sliver.
Sliver at least has production values and scale and multiple characters. And
I'm not going to be Philip Noyce about this one. It's bad.
They're both bad. How about that?
Yeah, they both rule shit pile. And so this is what? So Don Johnson, he's just kind of around at this point, right? It's like Miami Vice is over, so he's just
Harley Davidson, Marlboro Man. Is that around this time?
Yeah, that's close. Yeah. And Rebecca De Mornay is coming off of Hand of the Rocks to Cradle. Like when you can't get Sharon Stone, you get Rebecca De Mornay in that kind of role.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
At that point.
So.
No, she just signed up for something called Sliver. All right.
Guilty as sin.
Guilty as this is a movie. I'm like, this is Don Johnson and all. And like, yeah, this is his like, what are you gonna do post Miami Vice phase where there's and then he takes Nash Bridges.
I would argue he's another example of a huge TV star that I don't want to say couldn't cut it, but just didn't really mesh as a movie star. And then he went back to TV and found fortune and glory again.
He morsed it.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, he Caruso'd it. Sorry.
Yeah, Caruso.
Tom David. Caruso'd it.
And, as much as we tend to, and I've done this too, throwing out Caruso as sort of an example of somebody that, he left to see a TV show and tried to be a movie star and it didn't happen. It's like, yeah, but he made like $1 billion in CSI Miami residuals. So I think he's doing okay.
Yeah. Hey, he's great if he's in an ensemble. Like, I mean, in recent years, we've had him with Django Unchained and Knives Out, and he's been terrific there.
Well, he's a good elder statesman actor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which happens to most mediocre white men.
Right. Yeah, like he's quite strong here, like in the opening act and stuff, and then he starts digging in too much. with
yes,
things. Yeah,
I agree because
I think
because of the
he's
opening,
got
you're
the
like,
womanizer thing down. When he's just like this innocent womanizer, he's actually he's outstanding.
because
And
you
then
don't know what he's up to. Like
Yeah.
it's just like I don't know this guy. This is new to me as far as Johnson trying to do this sort of thing. It's weird. It's a little like off-putting but different. So like but yeah, then it's just like there's no other card to play beyond more sinister. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah, but Hannibal Lecter outside of the cage.
It tips its hand very quickly and has nowhere left to go.
And
Right,
I think a smarter script or just more nuanced performances could make that work, but this movie doesn't. Like it just doesn't have anywhere to go beyond spinning in circles, being like, "Yep, you're still stuck with me, lady." And it's like,
and again, even if no one, even if she finds herself unable to get away from this guy, his behavior is so obviously and pointedly, illegal, immoral, blah, blah, blah. Do you think the rich white guys that she works for, whose firm it is and who might be on the hook for whatever crap he does, would be willing to kick his ass to the curb?
Mm-hmm. Well, the judge makes her stay on the case. Like, I don't care, woman. I am a woman. Like, oh no. Yeah. Yeah, it's just not interesting. Not good. Not even, there's no curious part of it. There's no like, oh, well, there's this scene or this performance. It's a dud.
It is.
But how did it fare at the box office, Scott? As we head on.
Also a dud.
The
weekend of June 4th through. Let me close all these other doors.
All right, here we go. This is where Super Mario Brothers makes its money back.
This is where
Cliffhanger
everybody
was number one again, dropping 25% for $12 million. It had 37 and change after 10 days. It would eventually earn 84 domestic. Made in America. According to this, didn't drop at all. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, it was a 7.483.
No, because none of these are dropping. So something's wrong with this chart.
I've got.
Let me see weekend estimates. No.
The movie just made that.
I'm old enough to remember when you could trust Box Office Mojo for this kind of thing.
Aren't you on the numbers?
I should be on the number. I'm going to the numbers right now.
I don't even go to Box Office Mojo anymore.
It's old habit.
I removed it from my favorite.
Reflex. That's what I should have done. Can't quit you.
Yeah, I got it.
Wow, accurate numbers. What do you know? Holy shit. Cliffhanger did $12 million, dropping 41% for $37 million in 10 days. Made in America would drop by about a third with $7.5 million for a $21.5 million 10-day total. Guilty of Sin was the top new opener, opening with just $5.7 million on about 1,000 screens. It would top out pretty quickly, ending up with just $22.6 million domestic.
Make the sequel.
Legacy sequel / streaming show. Let's see. Dave was still number 4 after all these weeks, dropping 46% after Memorial Day weekend, 4.8 million for 47 million and change after a month in theaters. Hot Shots Part 2 earned 4.4 minus 46. Super Mario Brothers would drop by 50%, which bad, but could have been worse considering it was a holiday weekend. We're coming off a holiday weekend. A Life with Mikey earned just $3.6 million in its opening weekend. It would eventually top out at approximately $12.5 million.
More people wanted to see Mario in week 2 than Life with Mikey.
Again, not to be a dick about it, but Michael J. Fox was not a butts and seats movie star. This was a big conversation back in the 90s. I remember it.
What did it open with?
$3.6 million.
It'd be funny if he said the total would end up being 2 point something. Like somehow it went down.
Number 8 was Sliver. It had $28 million after 17 days. Menace to Society went down just 14%, adding 49 theaters for a $9 million 10-day total. And Indecent Proposal at $96 million at the end of its 9th weekend with a $2 million 9-weekend gross. And other than that, here's a fun trivia bit. Unforgiven from summer 1992 and A Few Good Men from December 1992 are still in the top 15.
Oh, wow.
For that matter, and I'm assuring there's some Oscar shenanigans involved, Howard's End, which opened a year and 65 weeks ago, is in 16th place.
It's incredible.
That opened in March of 1992. We are in June of 1993, and it is in 16th place at the weekend box office.
Movies.
The movies.
The movies.
The movies. Wow. Excellent. Oh, well, that's a nifty little box office run there. I think something big's going to happen next week for it. Cliffhanger might not be hanging on any longer.
Cop and a Half is still around.
Oh, good old Bert.
Yep.
We love the Reynolds man.
Next week, I think is. Have you seen Jurassic Park?
Nope. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I've heard good things. I mean, it probably won't measure up to Carnosaur, but what does?
Hey, big
or Mario.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The third dinosaur movie of the summer.
Big dinosaur.
That's going to be a problem.
All right, but so yeah, until that weekday, this will complete June 4th through 6th. So till then, Aaron, where can people keep up with your hijinks?
I host the podcast Out Now with Aaron and Abe with my friend Abe. We talk about the weekly movie releases and we do a commentary every month. I write for WeLiveEntertainment.com for my movie reviews and Why So Blue for Blu-ray and Criterion reviews. And I'm on Twitter at AaronsPS4. Everything happens at my blog, thecodeofzeke.com. Everything I do winds up over there as well.
All right, Scott?
TheWrap.com and at Scott Mendelson at Twitter.
All right. Next week. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Brandon Forkey UHD, written work of whysoblue.com. Next week, we have Tilda Swinton playing two genders. Matthew Modine finds his equinox. We have a romp and stomp a good time with Russell Crowe, and Steven Spielberg welcomes us to Jurassic Park. That's the June 11th through 13th weekend. But there will not be dino chases with motorcycles in that one. Just saying. Not happening.
Baby steps.
Not happening. But until then, stay film positive.
It's the summer of 93 at 30.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.